Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, I'm going to be changing it up a little and taking a look at the highest win rate champions for solo queue, the top 5 to be specific, and I'm going to be dissecting why I think they are so strong and why they have such a high win rate. So let me know, guys, if you like this type of video, and if you do, would you like to see one for the lowest win rate champions as well? So first up at 53.68%, we have Amumu, and the main reason why I think Amumu is really strong for solo queue is that if you get a good ultimate off in a team fight as Amumu, you can pretty much just win the team fight single-handedly. He's just such a strong team fighting champion, and if you can get that good engage onto the back line, then you can just win the game for your team. So that is why I think Amumu is pretty strong, and it's why he has such a high win rate. So surprisingly, actually at the number 4 spot is Malzahar at 53.81%. Now Malzahar, he's a pretty simple champion, which is why I think his win rate is so high. He doesn't really have some he doesn't really take really high mechanical skill to play, and you pretty much just look to use your ultimate on like the enemy mid laner or AD carry in a team fight, and as long as your ultimate doesn't get stopped by some sort of enemy CC, then he can completely take out like the enemy mid laner or the enemy AD carry from a team fight, and his team can just end up bursting them down. So that is why I think that Malzahar has such a high win rate, because his ultimate is just so strong at locking down a high priority target in a team fight. So at the number 3 spot is Garen at 54.02%, and kind of like Malzahar, the reason why I think Garen has such a high win rate is because he doesn't really require any crazy mechanical skill. He's a pretty simple champion, and he has the exact same objective for every single team fight, which is to just jump in, silence like a high priority target, spin around, and just ult whoever is low on HP. So I think that's really the main reason why Garen has such a high win rate, is because he doesn't take very high mechanical skill, and he can deal a load of damage by just having like 2 AD items. The Black Cleaver and Youmuu's Ghostblade is really all you need to go on Garen, and then you can go full tank after that and still do a lot of damage due to the true damage potential that he does have with his ultimate. Next up at the number 2 spot is Skarner, sitting at 54.16%, and this is really no surprise here. Skarner, he had like a 65% win rate before they hotfixed him and before they nerfed him a little bit. I still think he's like really broken, and he can still carry games really hard even though he dropped 10% in his win rate. The reason why I think Skarner is so strong is because in a team fight, if the enemy like mid laner jumps in, or the someone tries to engage on your back line, you can peel so well with the CC from his ultimate and the CC from his E as well. For example, like if the enemy team picks Diana, I think that Skarner is one of the hardest counters to Diana, because what she wants to do is she wants to jump on your back line, and if she does that, you can just completely take her out by using your ultimate on her. Skarner's also a great pick because his ganks in the early game are so strong because of his E. Getting that like crazy slow from his E and then the follow-up stun just makes his gank so strong, and then level 6 you're basically guaranteed to get a kill wherever you gank because of his ultimate. So just due to Skarner's really strong kit, I think that's why he has such a high win rate. And sitting at the number 1 spot with a 54.29% win rate is actually Darius, and I'm a little bit surprised that Darius has such a high win rate, because there are easy ways to counter him, but I guess a lot of people don't really take that into consideration when playing against Darius. They don't try to build like kite comps, or they don't try to build disengage comps, and if Darius does get items and he does get to late game, he can just absolutely wreck in team fights, and he can be basically unkillable because of the heal coming out of his Q. If he does get those 5 stacks, he can just end up like one-shotting every single champion in the game because his ultimate does so much damage. So I do think that if Darius does get to that late game, and if he does, if the enemy team doesn't have a very strong kite comp, he can definitely do really well, which is why his win rate is pretty high. And a few champions that also have pretty high win rates but were not on the top 5 are Fiora, Xin Zhao, as well as Blitzcrank. And Fiora, I think the reason why she has such a high win rate is because she's just strong at all stages of the game, and her ultimate and the true damage coming out of her passive are also what makes her so strong. her AoE heal in a team fight can just basically win you fights if you can get that off, because the heal that it gives is actually pretty crazy. So that is why I think Fiora has such a high win rate. And Xin Zhao, I think he's one of the best Sated Devourer junglers in the game. He does a load of damage with that item, and once you do get to late game as Xin Zhao, he can just like melt targets while still being really tanky, because he only needs Sated Devourer and he only needs the Blade the Rune King for damage. His early game ganks are also quite good for a Sated Devourer jungler, and that is also why I think his win rate is so high, because he can make a presence in the early game, unlike Sated Devourer junglers like Shyvana, Master Yi, and Udyr, who kind of have lackluster ganks in the early game. And Blitzcrank, the reason why his win rate is so high, in my opinion, is basically because of his hook. It's a game-changing ability, and it can just win you games if you get that off on like the enemy mid laner or the enemy AD carry in a team fight, and it can just snowball the laning phase if you do end up getting a nice hook as well. So Blitzcrank's win rate is basically just based off of the pick potential that he does have with his hook. So that is all for the video, guys. If you enjoyed, then let me know if you'd like to see one of these videos for the lowest win rate champions in the game, because I'd definitely be willing to do that if you'd like to see that video. But thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you in my next video.